Sounded so good. Navigating today's real estate market can be tricky. Want to buy or sell a house, finance or insure a house, or stuck with a house and don't know what to do? Florida Talk Real Estate has been your local one-stop real estate shop since 2012. Get the advice you need from your local real estate pros. Here are your hosts, Jim Paola and Johnny C. live on Real Radio.
Good Saturday morning. Welcome to another edition of Florida Talk Real Estate. We are live on this November 2nd, a morning I wake up where the Los Angeles Dodgers are still the world champions of Major League Baseball. So yes, it's real. And we are live on this Saturday. Great to have you with us. I see you out there. And I hear you too. 92.1, 101.7, the old terrestrial radio. Thank you very much for being with us. I hear you loud and proud. Maybe you have the iHeartRadio app. That's a free download and makes us worldwide on a Saturday morning. And the live streaming is happening. And I see the cameras in studio. Want to check out some lovely faces? I got 3 for you to choose from. Jimothy, are you on camera?
No, I am not. I refuse. It's not my contract.
I don't really. That would cost way too much. Well, you get my mug for sure. You can join us on Facebook and YouTube. Yeah. That's Florida Talk Real Estate. Settle down over there. Florida Talk Real Estate on Facebook. Florida Talk Real Estate LLC on YouTube. Home of a ton of informational chunk videos, plus your live stream on a Saturday morning. And you're welcome to join us toll free as well. 877-927-6969 with your questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate. The first voice you'll hear, although you won't see his face live streaming from what I understand, because that's costly, is Jimothy, best producer in the world. My brother from another mother. How you be?
I be very good, Johnny. Thank you very much. Good to see you guys, both of you, today on this Saturday.
Are you still celebrating the Dodger championship?
No, not even a little bit.
No?
Is that a little dig there? Since I'm a Yankees fan?
No. Not even a little bit. No.
I wouldn't blame you, boy. Those bats got cold.
And you know, you've known me for a long time. This is no newfound allegiance to the Dodgers.
Oh, no, of course not.
This is
not at all.
That blood is blue, and it feels good.
Yep, I don't blame you. I just, you know what? I mean, at least, I guess, obviously, better luck next year. Good to see the Pinstripes back in the World Series, at least.
Yeah.
Been 15 years. Long time.
Yeah, talk about a long time. I'm feeling it. Nice to see you as always, my brother.
Good to see you as well.
Let's say good morning to our starting lineup, which, by the way, consists of Mr. Consistency. It's our fearless leader. We are left with one pros pro today, Jimothy. The good news is it's one with broad shoulders.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I told you, he runs a top producing Keller Williams team for 12 years plus now. Keller Williams Innovations, he fired the Florida Home Pros team, and my guy Jimmy D, who is celebrating the Dodgers championship, by the way. Nice to see you, Jimmy D.
Hey, happy South Florida, everybody. Yes, we're down to me, Johnny, and Jimmy today. Everybody else is on vacations or whatever.
Nice.
So I work too hard, I think. But yeah, everything's been going really good. And we got a lot to talk about today. I didn't even know that the World Series was happening for real until the last night when the Dodgers won.
Well, that's really the night that mattered most.
And I'm very happy about that because I hated baseball when I was a kid. When I played baseball, I hated it. It was like the worst sport ever. It was so boring. I played basketball, soccer, wrestled. But
I don't imagine you played it for long then, huh?
I played it for 5 years because I thought my father wanted me to play.
Oh, that's the worst.
And I was horrible at it. I was so bad. I'll never forget this. I was in Little League, and a pitch is thrown to me in a live game, not practice. And I swung so late that the umpire couldn't decide if I had swung or if it was a practice swing. And I actually told him that I swung.
You're like, I'm just trying to get out of this batter's box.
My coach was so mad at me.
You're like, that should just be 2 strikes because I'm pretty sure he threw a strike and I swung at it way late. So
matter of fact, there might have been almost an interference call. The catcher was throwing the ball back to
and
the
then
pitcher,
I swung.
and then he swung.
I'd be out. What's the field where they place you because you suck? What field is it? Left field, right field, out in the back?
I don't know.
Oh well, I always when I was a kid, I thought there was like one area that
Right.
was like the least
Usually right field.
I'm gonna
Okay,
guess right field
'cause
just
most-
based on where the ball's gonna
and
probably
I'd
go.
be staring at
yeah.
my glove and looking at the leather of my glove and everything and not care about the game at all. And I'd hear the crack of the bat and I'd like, and I'd look up. It's like, oh, I guess I'm playing baseball. I really hated it. I was very good in other sports, but I hated baseball. It was too slow for me.
So
It was way too slow.
I knew the outfield was definitely, but I guess it makes sense. Like statistically, the ball's going to spray certain areas, right? So I knew the outfield's where you stored like the kids that were the least athletic.
Yeah.
First
That was
base
definitely me.
and the outfield, from what I remember.
Because nobody expected you to catch the ball,
Yeah,
to actually catch
exactly.
it, right? So I mean, it's always if you get it to the outfield, it's going to be a base hit,
Yeah,
or
well,
likely.
depending on
But
what
most
age.
people bat righty, so the ball will typically go to left field.
Sure.
You know, a
And
bit
depending
more
on what age,
statistically.
they might not even expect you to be paying attention.
And then I had I got hit so much by the pitcher, right? I used to get hit all the time, right? In
'Cause
the
you were tough
ribs
and you
and
just leaned
everything.
into it, or
Well, what happened
That
was
explains a lot.
I had a lazy eye.
Well,
So I used to have to like wear this patch on my eye to fix my eyes because I had this like really bad lazy eye. So
that sucks.
I was a lefty, so the way I was standing, my strong eye was not where your normal strong eye would be when you
Right.
bat or whatever.
Sure.
So the whole thing was just totally screwed up. I hate it. It was just hell. I went through hell. So I'm happy the Dodgers won for the Dodgers, but I'm done with baseball. Anyway, enough about that. I wanted to get into some shout outs because the Florida Talk Real Estate Show and team from the Florida Home Pros has been pretty busy over the last couple weeks. And I wanted to go over a couple of these things just to show you how deep our help is. And it isn't just about, hey, you want to buy a house, sell a house, refi a house, get a loan. We're so much more than that. So I was going over the people I'm working with right now or helping right now, because some of them I haven't signed contracts with or anything. And I was like, wow, this is a lot of different stuff. So let's go over a couple of these things. So shout out to Mariana and Lou. They're going to be selling a home in a really nice home over in Delray Beach and Polo Trace, in a nice community out there in Polo Trace community. And they're going to be buying a new home in Martin County. Now, we've been talking to Lou and Mariana now for over a year, and we've been talking to them every couple months, just sometimes every couple weeks, just to check in with them. They knew they wanted to do something, but they weren't sure the market was right. Then they had some family issues, but we just not without any pressure. We just stayed in their radar, let them know what was happening in the market. They finally decided to go ahead and move forward on the deal in January. So we met this week. We sat down. We went over the sale of their house. So they're seniors, and they're going to be downsizing. So they're going to be going from basically a 2,000 square foot home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a pool in Delray, and they want to move to Martin County for a little bit slower lifestyle and a little bit of a smaller house, so they don't have so much upkeep. Also, they also want to buy the new house cash, so they have no mortgage whatsoever. Beautiful. Which is going to be awesome. So they really want to be set up, and they've been like really spending a lot of time on how to figure this out. So we finally met for the second time this week, and we signed their listing agreement. And Mike Stone, do you remember Mike Stone?
I do.
Mike Stone is one of I think he was our first agent that I hired on my team back then. I don't even know what we were called back then. I know the show was called Talk Real Estate with Rob and Jim.
Okay.
But I don't even remember what my team was called back then, my real estate team. But Mike was always one of my top buyers agents, and I love Mike.
Mike was great.
And
Collections is great.
Is great, yeah. And then he moved out to Martin County and decided to go solo, and he's been going, he left us about maybe, I don't know, 6 years ago, 5 years ago.
Is that it?
Yeah.
No, it feels so much longer than that. I feel like we've been in this building that long.
Oh, maybe 9 years ago, Mike. I think it was 2015. So yeah, maybe 9 years.
Yeah, I was going to lean
almost
into
10.
10. Yeah. But he will stretch into, different areas, but he's really had an amazing run and has got a lot of knowledge of the Treasure Coast area, like St. Lucie County, Martin County, Indian River.
That's kind of why we're working together on this one, because he wants me to help sell the house in Delray because he doesn't want to travel this far, and I know the area better.
Sure.
But Mike is, really knows Palm Beach counties, St. Lucie County and Martin County really well. He knows Palm Beach County too, but St. Lucie and Martin, he lives in Martin County, so
Yeah.
he really knows the area well up there. Now when you're a seller buyer, because they need the proceeds from the sale to buy the house. So this is going to be a seller buyer situation.
Specifically because they want to pay cash. So, I mean,
Yes.
if they were getting some financing, I'm sure it'd be a different situation, or but they're using their proceeds to say, we're going to pay this house off.
Yes. And so there's a lot of moving parts with that. So one of the things we have to do when we're doing a seller buyer and they need the proceeds from the sale to buy the new home, and we try to do what's called a simultaneous close, where at 10 o'clock in the morning on Monday, you're selling your house, and then the title company takes those proceeds and sends it up to the other title company on the house you're buying. And then you close at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on that house, and you get to move right in from the one house to the other house. That's called a simultaneous close. That's what we specialize in. If we can make that happen, that's our ultimate goal. And so what we have to do for that is we have to figure out what we're going to be able to sell the house for, how much money they're going to get in their pocket, then figure out based on that, what can they afford to buy on that budget? And then is that property out there available for them, and all the other options. One of the things that we were looking at for them was new construction. Like we know Jimothy just bought a new construction home. There's a lot of benefits to that.
Sure.
Some of them are low insurance rate.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have to worry about the roof and the AC for probably 10 years or more. Got, everything going well. And you're probably not going to have to worry about the insurance crisis so much like some of the other resale properties are. So we went and looked at those opportunities for them. Then we looked at resale. We got a really great plan. We're really excited for them. We're going to move forward.
Love it.
We also, I also wanted to thank John and Joanna for meeting me yesterday. Very interesting time. That came from a referral from the west coast of Florida. Thank you, Colette from Bonita Springs, Keller Williams' office. She found me through doing research online and found out that I was in this area, and she liked my marketing of, myself and the customers I work with. So she called up and she says, I really like you to work with my aunt. She needs to sell her house because she wants to go in an independent living facility. So I met with them yesterday, and I met with Joanna, who's a great gal, octogenarian like my mom, right? Really nice lady. She's really sharp, really nice personality, and her son flew down from New York to make sure everything was taken care of. Very astute person. John and I got along, I think, very, very well. Everything worked out perfect. He's sending out the contract I'm asking him to sign to his attorney, and I think next week we'll be in contract on that. And we're going to help her, Joanna, sell her house. And then I even gave him a little bit of advice of facilities in the area for independent living that are really great for Joanna. So hopefully that will help her out a lot, which is great.
Super
cool. Today, I'm going to be meeting with Rachel and James. They have just finished a probate case with the law office of Paola Krasker, who has been a longtime sponsor and big benefactor of the show.
Oh, yeah.
And Paul has already worked out the probate estate issues with Rachel and James' situation, and now they need to sell a house. So I'm going out to Palm Beach Gardens today, and I'm going to go taking a look at this house. I'm told it's a six bedroom, 3-bath with a pool in Palm Beach Gardens. I don't know what it's going to look like or anything. So when we go out there, we're going to figure it all out. 6-bedroom for the square footage to me seems like a lot of bedrooms for the square footage. So I got to figure out what's going on over there. But I'm really looking forward to helping them decide what's the best way to sell the house now that they've gone through the probate process, which brings us to John. John is also going through a probate process right now with the law office of Paul Krasker. He has a meeting next week with them. John and I have been talking for a couple of years now. He knew that he was going to have to deal with his mom's estate at some point, and he knew that he was going to sell his mom's home at some point, and now the time has come. So we're bringing him over to Paul to figure out what kind of probate obligations he has. I already met with John to figure out what the house is worth in today's market. It's in West Palm Beach. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. The house is very dated, but it's in a good neighborhood. And it would be great for a first-time home buyer to come in and make it their own. They'd have to use a 203K construction loan or something like that if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But it also might be a good candidate in this case for a we buy houses fast for cash type of company, one of those investor type companies. So we're going to weigh that option too and see if that's the best option for John. And we're going to figure out what's the best way he can maximize the money without taking too much risk in the changing market. So that's another thing that we're helping out with.
Excellent.
Also, I wanted to give a shout out to Chris and Allie. I'm going to be going up there on Monday, ready to get to shoot their property. We're going to be putting it on the market. It's a 2007 home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Port St. Lucie. It's got a really large lot, so there's plenty of room for a pool. They've already got a pretty big outsized an oversized shed in the backyard, which is really nice. He's been working the last couple weeks, painting it, putting in new appliances, new flooring. I even think a new AC. So it's going to be a pretty sweet home. He's going to price it right. And we're probably going to have that house on the market next week. And with Chris, he needed a new garage door because it was a rental property for him for a little while. And somehow the garage door got all dented up. So I got him over to Lee, who is in our database, and I helped Lee buy his property. He's one of the ones that bought a detached building with the mother-in-law suite and everything, kind of what you were looking for.
Totally know the name and the story.
Yeah,
connected it right there.
And Lee, I knew, is one of the biggest garage door installers for developers all over the over the Tri-County area. So I got Chris and Lee together. Never heard of anything again. Next thing I know, Chris is calling me up, telling me what a great job Lee was, what a great job Lee did, and how convenient it was. Lee tried to save the door by finding the parts to replace the original door, but he couldn't make that happen. So Chris just decided to replace the whole door. And he said Lee was excellent. So if you ever need garage door stuff, give me a call on that. We got Lee.
Very cool.
And that's another thing is that having the right contractors is really important. And I have one of my customers, Richard, and we're trying to close out his house right now. And I helped Richard buy that property as an investment property back in 2019. And apparently somewhere along the way, he decided that he was going to hire an electrician and do some electrical work in the house, including changing out the electrical panels for the house. And when we went under contract to sell the house in 2024, right now, we found out that there was an expired permit from the electrical and that they never closed out the permit.
Oh.
In fact, I found out that they did pull the permits, but they never called in for the rough electrical. They didn't do the final, and the permit was 14 months expired by the time that I found out about it. So I've been working very diligently for Richard, trying to get the electrician to do the right job and do this correctly. And it's been a big struggle. It's been going on now for about a month.
Oh.
I think we're at the bottom end of the thing that it's going to work out, but it's going to take a while.
This wasn't simply pick up the phone, hey, you need to do this, and they didn't just react.
No.
You got to be believing.
And then here's some of the things, Johnny, and you know this because you have contractors in your family and in your social circle too. The electrician was working under somebody else's electrical license.
Oh, stop.
Right. So the guy that was doing the work had no idea how to fill out the paperwork. The guy that actually owned the license, he wasn't making sure that the guy was following up on all the paperwork needed to be done. So I really had to flex our muscles a little bit because the guy that actually did the work, he was clueless. So I went to the city myself and found out what he was telling me was not factually correct.
My gosh.
So then I called up because I come from a contractor family, I knew how to squeeze them. So I called up the person that actually has the license. And I said, look,
hey, you got issues.
Yeah, you got big problems. You're working with this guy and he's not doing anything correctly. This is a 14-month-old permit. We're in contract. We could be in trouble on our side of the contract because of your situation. And he so far has stand up. Once I got to that guy, he stand up so far. We'll find out on Monday if it actually worked or not. but I have a feeling he's going to do what needs to get the job done. But Richard didn't have to do that. All he had to do, because he's in our social sphere, right? I worked a deal with him, right? Even if he didn't work a deal with me, all he had to do is pick up the phone. Hey, Jim, do you know a good electrician? I have like 5 of them that would never put him through this situation. And they probably not going to charge him anything different. Now, what Richard told me yesterday was the reason why he picked this guy. Huge reviews on Angie's List, right? Huge reviews, right? So he goes, I thought, Angie's List, I thought is like, come to us. We got real people. We got locally, privately owned, local small business owners, just like me.
Part of our community.
Right.
Yeah.
That's part of the tribe. So just become part of this tribe. So we're not just there for you. And don't think that we're going to sell you. We're not going to sell you anything. John talked to us for over 2 years before he ended up doing a deal with us, right? Mariana and Lou were over 1 year of talking to them before they decided to pull the trigger. We're not going to go there and try to pressure you to do things on our timeline. We're going to give you the answers you need. And yes, we will follow up with you. If you're not ready right now, we are going to call you every couple of months, right? Sometimes only every 6 months, sometimes every month or something, just to check in and see how things are going. Because even though you might have a plan, life changes plans sometimes.
Sure does.
So that's why we're calling, but we're not calling saying, hey, are you ready to sell your house? Are you ready to buy right now? We're just putting it out there. When you're ready, we're here for you. So if you like that idea, please, all you have to do is go reach out to us.
Yep. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com, your one-stop real estate shop. That's the hub, the real hub for all the pros, right? We've told you this is the one-stop real estate shop for a reason, because buying a home, selling a home, stuck with a home, you don't know what to do. Like anything that touches your home or the planning of getting ready to do something, like the biggest purchase of your life, the biggest sale of your life, we got a professional to handle that. We talked about the law office of Pauly Krasker and all of their long reach into so much student loan debt help to estate help and everything in between. When we say everything, I literally mean just about everything. Jim can get in the database. We got trusted sources for garage doors to electrical need, pools, everything else. This team can help you in so many ways. It's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. You got the hotline there, 888-973-7828. And if you like the socials, remember, on Facebook as well, YouTube, you'll find us, Florida Talk Real Estate, LLC. Ton of them, informational chunk videos. You can consume it all. Know it, use it, love it, share it. It's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
Thank you. I wanted to talk a little bit about the social media, Johnny. First of all, everybody that's been on Facebook and YouTube watching us live, thank you so much. Our audience is growing a little bit every week, which we really appreciate, but we got our core people here right now. We got Elizabeth. Thank you so much for coming out. My mom, Nate, you're here so much. Thank you so much. Francis and Carl from Ireland. Carl's here.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, he just said that he's almost done remodeling his place out there. I forgot the name of the town, Carl, so maybe you could put it in here. But Carl's coming in from Ireland. I helped he and his wife sell their home about 8 months ago or
Sounds
something.
about right.
Sounds
Yeah.
about right.
About right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're out there, and apparently he's really enjoyed it out there, and I love that you keep in touch with. Thank you so much. It means so much to us. And a lot of people can go on, and everybody on YouTube, please like and subscribe our YouTube channel. It really makes a big difference. And if you can comment on anything, it really makes a difference also. And the people on Facebook, thank you so much for being on Facebook, but we would love you to go over to YouTube and become part of that and make that your habit every day if you can, because it would really help out our team here, the One Stop Real Estate Shop. We're doing pretty good with those videos. What we're doing now is we're taking the subjects of what we're talking about, the important subjects, and we're turning them into very short videos. And this month we had over 35,000 views on our site.
Excellent.
And we bring in about 24,000 people are coming to the site right now. It's pretty interesting. The great majority of them are coming from like the United States, but I always have fun looking at the other countries. And we get a lot of people from Canada, which you'd expect, right? But Australia is kind of big. When I say big, it's a small percentage, but still, a couple of dozen people are coming from Australia.
Yeah, that's cool.
We have people from Europe that are listening to us. And then we have some people from the Eastern European countries. So I don't know if those are bots or not, or if we're dealing with real people over there. But if you guys are thinking of doing anything in Florida, wherever you are, think about giving us a call. We'd love to do that. Oh, I'm being told that we're not live on YouTube. So during the break, I'm going to have to figure out what's going on with that.
Oh, well, thank you for the heads up.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let me see. That's a really big deal.
You can reset if you want. We're at that time.
Let's go ahead and do a reset. And on the flip side, I want to start off with something that is near and dear to my heart, Johnny, and I think to you too. I just saw a survey where they asked renters, are you ever going to own a home? And the results are pretty interesting. So we're going to talk about that. Should you ever own a home in today's life?
I remember shifting perspectives for me for sure. So I'll be really curious to see what your findings are here. We got a lot more to get into on this Saturday. Remember, it is 2 hours of infotainment that we offer up. And we thank you very much for being there to consume. You can always go back and watch on Facebook and YouTube. We'll try to get that YouTube stream going, live streaming on a Saturday. And then remember, there's lots to consume after the fact. If you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, you're stuck with a home, you don't know what to do, remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is .com, your one-stop real estate shop. Know it, use it, love it, share it. You can change lives, including your own, with Florida Talk Real Estate.com. And the pros that you have resources. So many resources. Let's do this. Little reset. 4-minute break. We get back at it. Lots more to get into. Thanks for being with us every Saturday. It's Florida Talk Real Estate right here. It's Real Radio.
Got something to say? Text us at 47142. Start your message with Real Radio. Standard data and message rates apply, and don't text while driving. Here's what's happening with the weather on Real Radio.
From the Gordon & Partners Weather Center. Have you been injured in a motor vehicle accident? Call 561-333-3333 or go to fortheinjured.com.
I'm CBS 12 meteorologist Charlotte Carl. High temperatures will get into the low and mid 80s across the area with that pretty good chance for rain through the mid-afternoon hours, and that chance decreases through the overnight hours. An onshore wind will be strong at times, about 15 to 20 miles an hour through the rest of the day. Winds calm tomorrow.
This report is sponsored by Allstate.
I'm CBS 12 meteorologist Charlotte Carl. High temperatures will get into the low and mid 80s across the area with that pretty good chance for rain through the mid-afternoon hours, and that chance decreases through the overnight hours. An onshore wind will be strong at times, about 15 to 20 miles an hour through the rest of today. Winds calm tomorrow.
Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rao will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rao, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
This is Real Radio 92.1 and 101.7. Real talk for the Palm Beaches and the Treasure Coast. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
I give it to you again and again, 877-927-6969. If you would like to be a part of the program, you want to dive into the conversation at hand, or if you have a question, comment, concern in the world of real estate, gotcha. 877-927-6969. You'll be live on the radio, but you are more than welcome. Jimothy, our producer extraordinaire, he'll dial you up there. How you doing, my dude?
Doing mighty fine. How are you, Johnny?
Fantastic. Thank you very much for asking.
Good morning,
buddy. Your pal, Johnny C. And Jimmy D's with us. We're leaning hard on him today. We normally have a handful of pros from the Florida Talk Real Estate team, but today we're leaning on our fearless leader. I've told you for 12 plus years now, he runs a top producing Keller Williams team. Keller Williams Innovations, you find the Florida Home Pros team. My guy, Jimmy D. There's Jim DePola. How you be, Jimmy D?
Yes, I'm here. Happy South Florida, everybody. I really enjoyed driving down here from Jupiter because the clouds were just awesome today. I don't know. I love it when it looks like it's just about to rain. I like that feeling.
Yeah.
I just like it. So it was very, very much fun.
Last night was gorgeous, by the way. Man, we had such a stiff breeze, and it was just – and what a great Halloween, too. It wasn't Africa hot. It was nice and mild on Halloween night, at least from my perspective.
I forgot that yesterday was Halloween. Did you go trick or treating?
Thursday.
Oh yeah, did you go trick or treating?
Yeah, I got an 11-year-old. So
yeah, that's what I was asking.
Oh yeah.
So where do you go? Do you just stay in the neighborhood? Or?
So we have a bit of a tradition. We get together with some some friends that are basically family.
Mm-hmm.
But we got terrible news on the morning of that one of the little ones was sick, and they're like, "Hey, understand if you want to back out." And I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
So we did it in our neighborhood, and the cool thing is a couple of the loops in my neighborhood kind of went a little, I don't want to say all out, but did it nice.
Nice.
They were pretty well
cool.
decorated. Yeah. It seems like a lot more people setting up in the driveways the last handful of years than any year prior.
Nice.
So it's a little more party atmosphere these days for the people that are participating, which is cool.
That's what I would have expected in that neighborhood, to be honest with you. I feel like that's a neighborhood where you're going to see a lot of the kids running around, going door to door, and the neighbors kind of hanging out with each other.
The homes that aren't interested, they make it pretty clear.
Yeah.
The lights are out.
Yeah.
So, like when I was growing up, the rule was if there was a pumpkin, like it's game on, right?
Right.
Now I think the rule is pretty well established. Like if the outside lights are on, come on up. And definitely if you see decorations and the lights are on.
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah.
But if the lights are out, like that's a clear pass. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty with the lights out. I get it, but
it's funny you mentioned that too, because we in our new area where we don't get we didn't get any last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now we had just moved into the house too. So, it was literally within a couple of days of that. So maybe that was part of it. So we were kind of curious this year if we would get any. And the very first, we got 3 groups that came up. But the first one, I was surprised they even came up because somebody turned off the outside light. I think when the wife got home, she just got a habit or something. And so the light wasn't even on, but they still came up. And I was happy that they did, because then I opened up the door, I saw it wasn't on, so I turned it on.
Yeah.
But I was kind of curious, because that was always the indicator, the light.
Universal,
If there was no light on, you didn't go.
That's right.
And, I mean, even with decorations or something, it's just the way it was in our town when we,
So those kids just weren't raised right, but that's cool. Happy Halloween. Here's some candy. So you just celebrated a year in your spot. Hey,
1 year,
congrats, man.
yep,
Awesome.
1 year.
Is it 1 year? Why don't I
believe it or
have that
not.
in my system? I have to put it in my system.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to call you on the year
I
anniversary.
think it was the 26th or 7th is the picture that you took of us in the kitchen with holding the key,
Right.
like
awesome.
you typically do. So
Wow, what a quick
uh,
year, huh?
Isn't it amazing? It's just
Wow.
like that. We blinked.
man,
We
it's
blinked
true.
and there it was.
I hate relativity. Good time.
Well, that kind of brings us into a little home ownership, kind of brings us into a survey I just read. Not surprising about the survey, but I feel like it was a teachable moment, if you will. So I thought we should talk about it. So there was a survey that came out where they interviewed or questioned renters and asked them, will you ever own a home? Okay. And
So these are clearly people that never owned a home prior, right?
these are
'Cause I think
renters
if
who
you did
never
own a
own
home, that's 100% yes.
Right. So, right. These are people never owned a home. They're renting right now. And they asked them, will you ever own a home in your lifetime? And 50% of them said no, right? They're never going to own a home. And that got me. And then I was thinking about it. And, here are some of the things that why people would say that, right? It's not surprising considering that we have pretty high prices for affordability right now, right? And this is, we're talking Florida, but it's pretty much nationwide. We have the high interest rates. And when we say high, we mean high from the crazy lows that we had during COVID. We have high insurance costs right now. We're the highest insurance in the nation, although I think that's going to be changing soon. I think California is going to be neck and neck with us. And of course, now the new thing is people are complaining that in Florida specifically, our taxes are too high, right? Which I that made me laugh.
That's chuckle.
But with all of those things, I can understand when renters like read about this in the paper and they see all these headlines about all these different subjects we just talked about. I can understand why 50% of them say they would never own a home. And then that brought me back to the story about when we met for the long time, because we met a long time ago when I was a newspaper reporter. But then when we started the show, you told me the day we met, before we even started the show, I am never going to own a home. I don't want to own a home. I think people that own a home are crazy. You were pretty adamant that you didn't want to do anything with home ownership. And of course, this is right after the collapse of the real estate market, the worst real estate market we've ever seen since the Great Depression.
I was definitely influenced by what I had seen around me, and there was a lot to consume, and it was scary to watch happen. So I was influenced by that tremendously.
And a lot of people were. I mean, when you watched your parents struggle about whether they can make a mortgage or not, and then watch them lose their house, which was so unusual to see large numbers of people losing their house, because in the United States, foreclosures have always been so astronomically low. To lose a house is very traumatic. And I can understand. I'm not saying that your parents did. I'm just saying, talking collectively, people, just large groups of people saw this happen.
Yep.
It's like, why do I want this responsibility and this risk? And they looked at it as a risk, right? But now, Johnny, 10 years later.
Yeah. Well, and let's be fair, though. There was a lot more risk kind of inherently in the environment. There was an environment of adjustable rate mortgages. It was fog a mirror, get a loan types environment. It was a really risky environment. Everybody was taking risk. The lenders, the borrowers. It was a risky environment. So it was almost, you couldn't avoid the risk in so many situations unless you were getting a fixed rate and feeling comfortable. And that's why it was so unprecedented in so many ways. When I grew up, at least to my knowledge, granted the interest rates were high, but they were locked.
Yeah.
Right? They weren't going to just change year to year, where now all of a sudden you can't afford your monthly, obligation because your interest rate just adjusted massively. It was such a different world, and it felt like a world we're always going to be in, which made me go, oh no, I'm never doing that.
So this is my question to you. if you could talk to those 50% of the renters that say, I'll never own a home the rest of my life, I'm just not going to do it, I don't think it's worth it. And you were one of those people, you were one of them at some point, but now you are a homeowner and you've been a homeowner for 10 years. What would you tell those 50% no's?
Well, and I will tell you this too. I think that 50% to me seems a little low. I do.
Okay.
Because there's one other aspect that I think comes into play more than any other, and and they're kind of tied together. Um, it's debt to income, money saved, and our credit scores, right? And I say our because I'm thinking about what I looked like financially before home ownership. Okay,
Right.
it's a different world. As soon as you get into home ownership, it starts to change pretty dramatically, even if you're coming from the bottom as I was. You remember the kind of conditioning we had to get into, the shape that had to be molded before we could get into home ownership. It took about 9 months,
Right.
with the leadership of an amazing team, some desire, and a lot of help, obviously. But you have to have all that, and some luck can go a long way too. But I think the 50% seems low to me because I think a lot of folks have that debt to income issue. I think a lot of folks don't have very much money saved. We're talking about even at a 3.5% FHA first time home buyer loan. If you're not doing any down payment assistance, which by the way, there's a ton to choose from. We used it. It was one thing that I didn't include in my equation because I didn't know it existed.
Didn't know, yeah.
Right. You don't know what you don't know. That's why you got to go to people that are great at what they do. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. I think money saved is one of those things that you're like, so 3.5%, think about a $400,000 home. And I'm just throwing that number out randomly. You're like, it's going to take me forever to save that.
Right. So if you were to buy a $400,000 home, 3.5% is 15 grand. Right.
Yep.
So you need 15 grand. Now that's just for the down payment. Then you have your closing costs, which is the cost to actually get the mortgage and also for the title, like to get clear title and the costs that the buyer has for that. And then finally, it's called prepaids. And the prepaids are the money that you're paying up front for your insurance and taxes in your escrow account so that when the bill comes the next year, you have the money in the account to pay for it. It's almost like a forced savings account for you to make sure your taxes and insurance are paid. So when you add all of that together, if Mike Rao from the mortgage firm was here, he'd be telling us that probably would cost $15,000 for the down payment.
Yep.
And then the prepaids and closing costs could probably be as much as $8,000 to $12,000 more. So let's just say 8. So 20 grand, 22 grand.
We'll go 20, 22 grand.
So a lot of people don't have 22 grand to buy the house.
And it seems unattainable if you were in a position, and I'll just go from my position, my snowflake position. That's unattainable from where I was. It just was. But again, a lot of help, a lot of desire, knowledge goes a long way. I didn't have to fix my whole credit score. We just had to get to where I needed to be. And it was using a scalpel to fix things, not going out of the hat. You got to pay all this off. In my mind, that's the way it was. But again, if you're going to be the one giving yourself all the information when you're ignorant to it, you have nothing to go on. So you got to go to people that can give you the real concise path. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. That's where I went. This team helped me and my family achieve home ownership. And I'll tell you, as I went from overnight, because you leaned hard on me, Jim. You were like, Johnny, you have to buy a home. Because our timing was perfect. It was after a huge collapse. It wasn't going to get any better.
And as far as prices, the prices were so low. We're at the trough.
It was as low as it was going to get. Interest rates were in a pretty good spot. Like, if it was going to happen, that was the time to do it, even though I was the furthest away you could be from home ownership. Like, literally no money saved. My credit score was in the 5s. Like, I'm way away. But within 9 months, we got to your FHA qualified. Here's this down payment assistance. Here's $10,000 that you will pay back if you ever refi or sell your home. I did refi a handful of years ago. It got paid back. It was all part of that math equation as we discussed. But it went from totally unattainable to, in my mind, to, oh, this can be done. And do I want to do it? And, through learning, yes, I want to do this because that is doing a number of things for me. That is locking in some rent control. right?
Right.
So I know what my monthly obligation is. I have refied. So it's up a little bit higher than when we originally bought our home. But Jim, what would you say in my neighborhood, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, 6-year AC inside out, all impact windows with a pool, no HOA, right? School, mine, you know where I live, you know my house.
Yep.
What am I gonna pay for that for rent?
Oh, for rent, minimum 2,500 a month, but with the pool, it could go as high as 3,000.
Okay.
Now, some people will say 3,500, but market rents are going down right now. We'll
Sure.
get to that another
So let's
time.
be conservative, though.
So yeah, $2,500 to $3,000 a month is what that place would cost.
All right, so I've been well under that for we closed 10 years ago.
Mhm.
I've been well under that. So my rent control, and then just as soon as you sign that paperwork, like almost overnight, it seems like my credit score changed.
Isn't it amazing?
Like the
It
next
really is.
cycle, as it reported,
Mhm.
was like, oh my goodness. They just instantly went like, here you go.
Yeah, it's almost like the system's like, okay, now you got real skin in the game,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Even though I'm making that up, but it feels like that.
Well, it's
when
the
you
only
see
way
it.
you can feel
Yeah.
because it literally happens like that. I mean, it does.
And the other thing
Then you
too,
got to pay your bills,
right?
Right. You got to stay on top of it. But when you're in that position, like it just feels like your financial positioning changes, and it feels that way because it has,
Mhm.
even though it may not really. Your bank account doesn't look like it, but it just does. You're on much firmer ground.
So when you purchased your house 10 years ago, 10 years September,
Yes.
when you purchased the house 10 years ago, let's just say that you probably had to pull, I don't want to get into specifics, okay, but let's just say that because you had the 10,000 down payment assistance, let's say you pulled 12 grand out of your pocket to buy the house. Okay. Now here it is 10 years later. You did refi, but you put a lot of that money from the refi back into the house. So you had upgrades because of it. Some of it you had to do because the car drove to your house, but that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah. You're not guaranteed a car driving into your house,
exactly.
So that's not part of the deal.
Oh, no?
Yeah, no,
No,
it's not.
yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't in my
Unless you
closing
do it on
paperwork.
purpose,
All right,
right?
I'm
Unless
gonna
you
scratch
do it
that
on
off the
purpose.
list.
Yeah.
So the thing is, though, is that if you were to sell the house today, even with the refi and everything, would you have more than $12,000 in your pocket after you sold?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, you would
Yes.
have 6 figures in your pocket
So
after it sold.
I mean, just based on the rent number you're talking about right now, I saved that 12 grand like
But I'm just talking about like if you were to sell your house tomorrow, what you would get. Yeah, not like true profit,
No,
but
true.
just what you would
Yes,
get at the
absolutely.
time of closing.
For
You would
sure.
have 6 figures plus.
Absolutely. And we actually took some cash out in that refi too. We already
Right.
stripped some equity out, not a lot. I mean, it was a sensible approach.
So what happened to you as a homeowner, you went from putting in 12,000 into the house. Now I know this, like if an accountant was here, like Jared Perry CPA Group was here, he would be saying this isn't the real way you do the math. Okay. If
Right.
Dave Ramsey was here, he would look at it a little differently. But just hard numbers. You walk into a new house 10 years ago, you put in 12 grand, you sell it after you pay off the mortgage and all the closing costs, you're walking away with 10 times that amount in your pocket to go put down on your next home. That is how net worth increases overall in general between home ownership and non-home ownership. And that's the one thing. So that got me to start looking about net worth between renters and homeowners, right? So here's an amazing figure, at least I think was an amazing. Now, this came out from 2019, so this is before the COVID boom and everything.
Okay.
But in 2019, homeowners in the U.S. had a median net worth of $255,000. That means if you took all the homeowners, the median price point would mean that out of all the homeowners, half would have more than 255,000 of net worth and half would have less. Okay. But the median price would be 255. What do you think the net worth for the renter that same year who's just renting? What do you think their estimated median net worth would be for renters?
Oh,
So 255 for the homeowners.
Gosh, I mean, I want to cut that at least in half. I feel like I want to go more aggressive than that.
Yeah, if not more.
Yeah,
What do you
I do, because I'm only thinking of
Sure.
myself.
What are
Yeah,
you
yeah.
thinking?
5 figures even.
Like
90s.
50 or 90s?
Yeah, 50 to 90. I mean, it's a big gap. I
Well,
know,
I say, give me 35,000.
well, you're still 5 times too high.
Oh my goodness, 5,000?
$6,300 net worth
Yeah.
compared to 255
So I
between
didn't-
the average homeowner versus
Sure.
the average renter.
sure, because the worth is when you own like that, is the worth is the value of the home.
Your
So
equity.
let me show you
Gotta be,
how
right?
they calculate it, because I figured Johnny was going to ask that question because he always gets wonky on
Yeah,
me, which
Gotta
is
be
good.
the equity.
So
But
this
I
is
was
how,
gonna, by the way, I was gonna go in like the single digit thousands. I just felt like that was way too
yeah,
pessimistic.
it's too low.
Yeah, but I was basing it on me prior to home
Sure,
ownership. Like, how much
sure.
money did I have in the bank?
Right. So it's 40 times and this has been pretty standard for a very long time, decades. It's about 40 times difference between being the homeowner and the renter. And that's assuming in a lot of studies, they make the same income, they get the same raises, right? They do everything else is
Sure.
the same, but the difference between homeowner and renter. Now, with how they calculate net worth is, and it's based on Federal Reserve standards. Okay. So this is how the Federal Reserve determines it.
It's not a gold standard, that's for sure.
Well, I want to talk to you about that later
Would've
about
been-
later about the jobs report. We're going to talk about something
Oh.
I learned about that later. But so this is how they determine net worth. Cash in your bank accounts. That includes any kind of bank accounts, checking, savings, money market, prepaid debit cards, CDs and savings bonds, government bonds, health savings accounts, investments including 529 college funds, taxable investment accounts, retirement accounts such as IRAs and 401s, life insurance policies with cash value, annuities, vehicles, including cars, RVs, motorcycles, and helicopters, real estate, including rented homes and primary residence. And then what they consider liabilities, right? So they take all that, they say, do you have any of those things? How much? And they add it all up. And then they figure out your liabilities. And what do they consider liabilities? Any mortgage you have on any properties, home equity line of credit, credit card balances, and any kind of installment loans, including personal loans, auto loans, and student loans. And they take that. So they subtract that from all the assets. And that's how they figure it all out.
They didn't include any personal affirmations because I'm beautiful and I'm worth it. And
Well,
damn it, I'm gonna have an
I was
awesome day
surprised
today.
it didn't include like food, utilities, that kind of stuff. They didn't include any of that, right? Like all your normal gas for your car. They don't include.
Yeah, what about
all
like
of that.
preppers that have like years worth of food?
Yeah, exactly. You
worth
got to
something.
count that, right? That's
Yeah.
gotta be worth something, right?
What if you have like, just boxes of shotgun shells?
But 40 times the difference. And that's why when I call people and I'm like, please don't make a decision that you can't do this if you really want to. If you really want to, you can make it happen. We'll show you a path on how to do it. We're not saying it's going to happen overnight. Some people get pleasantly surprised because some of these people that aren't buying right now, oh, my credit score is only 640. I need to get a much higher credit score.
You're
well,
there.
you're there,
You're
right?
there.
Right? You're there.
I
640.
had to get to 640.
Yeah, getting to 640 is the smart thing.
Yeah.
And really it's 620 because FHA at 620,
Oh, yeah.
you get the same interest rate as if you had an 850
That's it.
with FHA.
Same.
So what are you doing waiting for if you don't know that and that's your stumbling block, my credit score sucks, talk to a pro.
That's it.
And then you're going to go, what? I only need 620, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to be very surprised and very happily surprised.
Yeah, because if you ain't doing 20% down, you're doing 3.5% down, you need 620. That's what you need. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, a lot of people don't use their veterans benefits, 0% for down payment.
Yeah, you earn that benefit.
Then if you get the down payment assistance and you're buying a $400,000 house and you need $22,000 and for normal, but that $12,000 for the down payment, you don't need that anymore. So you only need the $10,000 for the closing costs.
Well, that's easy to get, huh?
And you can get into the house for zero money down and it's just like becoming a renter and just not paying anything for first, last, and security. Come in and now you own a house with zero money down. And we have done that.
It happens.
We used to do it. We're used once in a while, during the crisis, we used to get money back for the homeowner, the buyer. Remember, we go to a closing table and they'd have a check for $4,000.
Here's your keys. And
Yeah,
check.
and they didn't pull any money out of their pocket. That doesn't happen now.
Yeah, those are hard to find, but
none of them went into foreclosure either. For all those people go, oh, those people probably couldn't afford the house. None of those people I put into there ever went into foreclosure, and that was 10 years ago.
Well, and these people can have plenty of money. It's not about not having money. That is a benefit that these veterans earned to be able to get a 0% down payment VA loan. You can have all the money in the world. You should still utilize that benefit that you earned.
Absolutely.
So let me just go over a couple of things, a couple quick facts to help renters that think that they're never going to have a chance to make this happen, to make them understand that's only in your mind. That is not a reality.
Here's the first one. You got to learn, and you can learn a lot at floridatalkrealestate.com. The pros can teach you with no obligation and no pressures. But if you want to learn a lot about your positioning, it can start at floridatalkrealestate.com. But let's follow Jimmy D's lead.
So here are some of the reasons why they believe, and I'm not saying I agree with all this, but this is conventional wisdom as to why homeowners get 40 times more net worth than the average renter. Okay. Number one, having a mortgage is like a forced savings account, if you think about it, because every month you got to make that nut. And part of that nut is paying down the money that you owe on the property. And most of the time, in most markets, your property is also increasing in value. So as you're paying down the money that you owe, the value of your house has started to grow. And that's one of the reasons why it's better to be a homeowner than a renter, assuming that you could afford the mortgage payment. Okay.
Of course. Number
two, the appreciation. People forget, Johnny, one of the reasons why you'll have such a huge paycheck, if you will, or a check at closing is not just because you paid down the loan. In fact, that isn't the majority of where you're going to get most of that big check from. It's going to be that your house it probably more than doubled in value over the time that you bought it. And getting back to your question, I didn't answer that before, is in your neighborhood, the average 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in the pool is probably in the low 5s right now.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it got as high as the mid to high 5s, but we've seen it scale back a little bit. We're going through a little bit of a correction.
Remember, AJ Holman had a property just around the corner from me, and he said it was
550.
Needed a lot of love, too.
Yeah.
It had no pool.
Yes, exactly. So I'm trying to be very conservative.
Yeah. I actually go lower than that in my mind on proceeds that we're going to get from a sale of my home. I actually go considerably lower than that.
Right. And you're still doing good.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So part of it is the appreciation, and that happens organically. You don't have to do anything. It just happens. It's because rising waters lifts all boats.
Now we have done a little, right? We did put impact windows in our first handful of years in there. The newer AC, right? Newish. I've replaced the fence a couple times.
You resurfaced the pool?
Just resurfaced the pool within the last year or so. So it's and there's obviously some upkeep that's been neglected.
And there's responsibility for that. But if you add it all up, right? If you add it all up, you're still doing way better. And with renter, you're not getting anything. The only thing you're getting from rent is a roof over your head for the time that you pay for the rent. There's no benefit other than
you're
that.
helping the homeowner to pay off, their monthly obligation and possibly some income while earning their.
Exactly. It's true. And then finally, the last thing is, and this isn't as big as it used to be when I became a first-time homeowner, but tax breaks. You used to be able to take out all your mortgage interest off every year as a cost, as a tax deduction. Now, I understand that because I'm self-employed, I don't know how it is with W-2 anymore, but I hear if you're doing your normal, what do you call that, where you do the set standard tax deduction? There's like a simple tax deduction where you don't have to itemize and do all that.
Like a 1040 EZ form or something
I think,
that?
And I think you're not allowed to include interest anymore like you used to be. But tax breaks are a big thing. And the tax breaks are a big thing also because when you sell your house, the profit that you make on the house, if you're a single person, you can make $250,000 profit on your house and not pay any taxes, any capital gains taxes at all, if it's your primary residence. And if you're a married couple, you can get $500,000 profit from your house and not pay any taxes. So that's a huge thing. If you went and put the money into stock market and you made that money, you're paying capital gains, right? So there's a big difference there. So the bottom line is, should you plan on owning a home or not? There are a couple things that you should be concerned about. I'm not a rah-rah person. I try to do right thing for everybody, right? So why wouldn't you want to buy a house in today's market, or if you're a renter? Okay, if you're not planning on staying there, the article, one of the articles I read on this says at least 4 years. If you're not going to stay in the home for 4 years, you're probably not going to break even on the total cost of buying the house and then reselling it, because you didn't have enough time for appreciation or to pay down the mortgage because you owned it for such a small amount of time. So if you're thinking about buying, but you're not really going to make the commitment to stay in the house long enough, it might not be a good idea. Like, for example, Johnny, if you moved in your house 10 years ago, but you only sold 3 years after you bought it, we would not be having the conversation of how much equity you would have in your house and how you can use it and roll it into the other house.
Right.
So you got to plan on when you move into the house that you're going to be there a while. My advice is minimum 3 to 5 years, but 5 years to me is the sweet spot, because that way, if we have any down market, there'll be time, hopefully, depending on the cycle you're in, to catch it up before you're ready to sell. So 5 years to me, plan on being there 5 years. It's a very safe time to buy. And then the final thing is, don't let conventional wisdom determine whether or not you can do this. Like Johnny was saying before, talk to the pros, right? Talk to people that can give you the advice you need. Don't make a decision because this is how I think, and it gets me nervous when I think about this, so I'm just not, it's just a bad thing. It's just a bad thing. Talk to people. Find out, hey, do you know that you can get $10,000 right now from the state government to help pay for down payment and closing costs? Hey, do you know if you plan on doing this next summer, we might be able to get you, if you're buying a $400,000 home with 3.5% down, we can get you back $18,000 from the state under that new program.
What's the program Mike was talking about a couple of weeks ago where you can get like up to
the SHIP program? State is SHIP, SHIP.
Yeah.
State Housing Initiative Partnership is what it's called. And in that program, you can get as much as like $75,000 to help pay for your closing costs. Now that you're going to have to run through a gauntlet. It's very tough. But the other two programs I'm talking about, basically you fill out a form and you take like this 1-hour course online and you're qualified. Right. So talk to the pros and make sure that you understand all your numbers. And also, if you're not ready now, get ready. Find out, rip the Band-Aid off, find out what you need to do. That's what I did. That's what Johnny did.
Yeah.
When Johnny wanted to do it, finally, we had to rip the Band-Aid off. He looked like he was nauseous when we were doing it. He was pale.
I was green, pale, all kinds of shit.
And 9 months might have sounded like, 9 years. When you started, it's like, oh my God, 9 months. It went by very fast.
Sure
And next thing you know, you're a homeowner. That's what happened to me. I had terrible credit. I had no money. I was nearly in default of my student loans. And some angel, right, Cindy Taylor, I don't think she's around anymore, but she was my mortgage broker and she took me under her wing.
She was your angel? You're my angel.
I know, right? It's like, yeah. And she was my angel. And she came to me and I got turned down from so many mortgage brokers and no realtor wanted to touch me because I was just not worthy of their time. And Cindy looked at me and she goes, Jim, and she had this Southern accent. I can't repeat it. And she says, do you really want to buy a home? And I'm like, yes, ma'am, I really want to buy a home. And she goes, if you do everything I tell you to do, you are going to buy a home.
Darling.
And that's the only person that told me that, right? Everybody else is no, or wouldn't even take my phone calls, right? And then I worked through it. I had support from my parents, God bless them, because they helped me with my student loan debt that I needed because they didn't have the programs we have today.
Yeah.
And I became a homeowner. And I bought that house for $67,000. It was a foreclosure. Who knew that I was going to get involved in all this stuff back then, 1994. And the house today is probably, I don't live there anymore, but the house today is definitely worth in the high fours, and 1994 was worth $67,000 as a foreclosure. So you need to have the people in your life that are vested in you and really care and try to get you the right answers. We have so many people in our database, Johnny, that want to do something but are not there yet. And that's okay. But we just keep reaching out to them, because when they're ready, we'll be ready.
But have they at least gone down the path of understanding how to get to the end game? Because unless you've started, like you got to pull the trigger on the gun there to start the race, right? You just do. If you don't start, you're not in it. You're just not. You got to start that. And I always like to. I think this is a perfect analogy because I remember this feeling as you look out to what it's going to take to get it done. You just see this vast, endless sea, right? It's a sea of water, and you're like, whoa, there's no end. That first step is brutal. When you step out there, it's like 2 inches of water. You're like, oh, well, this isn't so bad. And you take another step, and it's still just like 2 inches of water. And as you keep taking every step forward, you're like, oh man, this water, it's a long way, but it's 2 inches deep here. I'm not drowning in this. This is easy. I can pound these steps out. Let's go. But you got to take those steps. You can't be worried about drowning in it right out the gates. And if you don't take that first step, you're not going to even get the knowledge, the understanding of the next step that you have to take to get to the end game. You got to take the first step. And FloridaTalkRealEstate.com and the pros show you, here's your first step.
And there's no commitment.
No.
It's not like you have to start and like, oh, we have to go all the way. Right. Eventually you want to get there. You will. You'll see that you want to, but it's not like, oh my God, I have this money I have to put out. No, it's not a complete commitment. You at least got to find out where your numbers are and get educated on what direction you want to go. And that's the person that's never gone through it is who I'm addressing there.
What you're committing to is yourself, trying to get to what you want done. And if you want it, well, go do it. Take that first step. Because if you're not going to do that, you don't want it. You can't tell me you want it.
And one of the things I remember was when I was cleaning up my financial mess in order to become a homeowner, every little step I took, even though it seemed very overwhelming at the beginning, as I did commit and make the little steps into the water, and then I saw my credit score go up from 5 whatever to 601. Right. I'm just making it up. I'm like, wow, I'm only 19 points away, and you really feel like you accomplished something, or you started paying down debt that's been hanging over you for a long time. And now you're making that commitment.
Don't you go on the Experian Boost app and just hit it and it like boosts you immediately?
94, that wasn't happening. Yeah. But knowing all that and watching yourself do it, and it's like, wow, I'm really doing this. And it kind of reinforces that you want to do it more because you want it really bad. And, home ownership is all about creating longer term wealth, in my opinion, for most people, because, there are professors right here in South Florida that specialize in real estate say, don't buy in Florida. You're better off renting. I just don't see that. And the reason why is their argument is you can take the money that you would be to buy the house and invest it in the stocks and use it as investments to get a bigger return on your money.
That's what they're trying to play.
But the problem I have with that is regular people don't do that, right? They'll have a 401k and throw their money in their 401k and let a fund, decide how they're going to handle the money. You're not going to sit there and take $50,000 or $12,000 in the example of a homeowner buyer, right? And take $12,000 and say, my intent is I'm going to get a bigger return than I would on the house. The house is passive. Once you lock into the mortgage, you're almost, especially in Florida, and I'm knocking on wood here, but how many years has Florida not seen appreciation?
True.
Think about it. Right?
The only scenario that makes sense is if you're talking about an investment property. So if you're an investor,
that's different.
If you're an investor, quite possibly your money's better in a different investment. We're talking about being a homeowner as a primary residence. And they're in that equation, the part they're missing out on is I live in this house. My mortgage is my rent, right? It's the investment part is the bonus. You're locking in on a home that you and your family live in while you're possibly getting this investment return, right? Your equity that can come at you, which does not happen in a rent position. So that yes, there's some factuality to what they're saying there. There's some facts, but the positioning matters. If you're going to live in that house, they view it as my money will be better spent this way. It's like, well, if you're only buying it as an investment and not as a primary, now we're talking. But this is a primary residence.
I totally agree with that. And that's why I feel like sometimes when I read the articles in the paper that I don't like really agree with what they're saying about
Give
this.
all the information.
Yeah,
Give
it's
all
like,
the
and to be realistic, it's like credit repair. We've had so many people try to go through different credit repair companies and everything. And what we found out is if you're going to do credit repair, first of all, the best credit repair we've gotten really has been advice from our mortgage teams, right? To tell you how to repair your credit without hiring a credit repair company or anything, because most people don't need that. What most people don't understand is they don't got to fix their bad credit usually. What they got to do is build new good credit, right? And Mike will explain how to make that happen without you hiring a credit repair company that's going to make all these promises and you're going to be on a monthly payment with an upfront fee and you wait, you don't see your score going up. I've seen that so many times. And then I've seen the credit repair, and then I've seen people say, you don't need a credit repair company to do it. Just go ahead and do it yourself. Just do it yourself. And I'm like, yeah, the blind leading the blind. You're going up against trying to figure out how to restore your credit
right
when you have no skills. And if you're fighting credit, you've got to write all these letters to the creditor, and then there's a certain timeline they have to respond. And if they don't respond, then you got to follow up another way. It's like that becomes your life.
Yeah, who's writing letters these days? By the way,
exactly, right. So the bottom line is that when you think about all this, this is a really passive way that usually is going to be very safe for you financially in the long run. And you have results that you're probably not going to get if you don't have the opportunity to be a homeowner. When you're a renter, you're never going to have appreciation, right?
Nope.
All you're going to have is a landlord that you're giving the money to. And if you don't get along with that landlord, you're going to have to move to another place and do first, last security. And, some people are bouncing around from place to place to place, and every year they're paying first, last security. And if you just save that money and say, the next time I'm going to do this, I'm going to put it towards buying a house. And then you create a plan, and then you have 9 to 12 months to figure out how to get that plan. Most people can buy a house in 9 to 12 months if they have that plan. So you lock in for the rental, and then you say, you know what? That first, last security I'm planning on spending next year, I'm putting it towards my down payment and closing costs. I'm increasing my credit score, and I'm doing what I need to do to get qualified for the loan. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to go get some down payment assistance programs, and I'm going to make this happen for me.
Yeah.
So
I do also know that feeling of the hesitation to let somebody look into like your everything financially.
Yeah,
I know that
your
hesitation.
messy finances.
Yeah, because you're kind of like, here, look, I'm terrible.
I
with
screwed
finance.
up this. I screwed
I'm
up
not
that.
responsible at all. There you go. Take a peek.
That's me.
See how irresponsible I am. I get that. I get that hesitation. I know that feeling. But you're not the only one, by the way. You probably won't be the only one that day when Mike looks at a credit report to be like, and there's just it's not a judgment thing. You feel like it is. I know that feeling. You totally feel like it is. I get it. But you have to set that down like a bag of bricks and go to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Find out what you don't know.
And have a sense of humor about it. Yeah, I screwed it up.
You did. I
screwed it up. Yeah, I own it.
Yeah,
and let's go fix it, because that's what the bottom line is. It doesn't matter how you got there. Let's just fix it and move on.
It's about getting the knowledge to understand how to fix it.
And almost everything's fixable. It's very rare that that people don't have any options. It's very, very rare. It's usually a big IRS problem is usually what would really stop somebody.
Got you. Or if they're like freshly bankrupt or something, right?
Yeah, or maybe they're really not. They really hate paying the IRS, so they're not reporting anything on their income. But that's fixable in a year.
Yeah,
right. You can fix it. That's even fixable.
That's still, if you find out that situation, be like, well, here's what you can do. It's just hurry up and wait and get ready to pay your bill.
Hey, let's go ahead and take a break. On the flip side, we're going to talk about love bugs. I wanted to talk about love bugs last week. I love talking about Florida critters. We're going to talk about love bugs this week. I read a really interesting story. So there's probably a bunch of people in Florida now. It's like, what the heck are love bugs? And me and Johnny and Jimmy, we grew up with love bugs.
Sure. They got me into being a voyeur. I used to watch them doing it all the time.
Well, we're going to tell you why they call them love bugs too.
Perfect. We got a lot more to get into. Thanks for being with us on this Saturday. It's November 2nd all day today. It's great to have you with us. You're more than welcome to join us. In fact, here's the toll-free number if you want to dive in right now. Want to talk love bugs? 877-927-6969. Questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate, you can bring it. Join into the conversation at hand. You're more than welcome. Of course, if you're not comfortable on the radio and you need the pros, the experts that you're leaning on, you can get them all at the one-stop real estate shop that is floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. Know it, use it, love it, share it. Find us on Facebook and YouTube. Subscribe and share. Share to the masses of what they have. The resource that is floridatalkrealestate.com. You can change lives, including your own, with the pros at floridatalkrealestate.com. 4 minutes from now, we're back at it. Great to have you with us. Thank you so much for making Saturday a reality for us. We wouldn't be able to do this if you weren't there. We probably still would. I just don't know if we'd be doing it for 12 plus years. Truth. We're back in 4 minutes. Great to have you with us. Florida Talk Real Estate right here. Real Radio.
Download the app and then take us anywhere. Except maybe there. Get it from your app store. Search for iHeartRadio. Here's what's happening with the weather on Real Radio.
From the Gordon Partners Weather Center. Have you or a loved one been injured through no fault of your own? Call 561-333-3333 or go to fortheinjured.com.
I'm CBS 12 meteorologist Charlotte Carl. High temperatures will get into the low and mid 80s across the area with that pretty good chance for rain through the mid-afternoon hours, and that chance decreases through the overnight hours. An onshore wind will be strong at times, about 15 to 20 miles an hour. Through the rest of today, winds calm tomorrow.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Black Friday buildup is here at Lowe's. Get up to 35% off select major appliances, plus save up to $500 when you buy select LG major appliances. Valid 10/24 through 11/5 cannot be combined with additional discounts. See Lowe's.com for details and qualifying items while supplies last.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rao will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rao, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
From the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios.
Have you been in an accident? Call Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys at 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
Real Radio 92.1 is WZZR West Palm Beach, an iHeartRadio station.
Listen on your free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts. Free never sounded so good. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
Yeah, great to have you with us. Thank you very much for tuning in on a Saturday. If you're just joining us, you've missed some of the most amazing radio ever. The good news is you'll be able to consume it again. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, Florida Talk Real Estate on both. Always remember Florida Talk Real Estate is .com as well, your one-stop real estate shop. I'm your boy, Johnny C. Timothy's our producer extraordinaire. What's up, my dude?
Hello, and a good morning.
Good morning. And today our pros pro is singular. Just our fearless leader, the professional we've leaned on so far and will continue to for the next 40 minutes or so on this Saturday. Told you for 12 plus years now he runs a top producing Keller Williams team, Keller Williams Innovations, by the Florida Home Pros team. Jim DePola runs it. There's Jimmy D. How you be?
I'm doing good, Johnny. I'm going to be talking about one of my little favorite subjects, which are Florida critters. I just love it. And today we've talked about, let's say, iguanas falling down from the trees when it gets too cold.
Yeah.
We talked about people killing iguanas in inhumane ways and that it was breaking state law. We've talked about the alligator hunting season back in the days when that was happening, then the python hunting and all of that's going on. And now I want to talk about love bugs. And the reason why I'm talking about love bugs, I moved down here, I think in 74 is when I moved down here. And I remember all the time during the summer and also a little bit during the fall, if I'm not mistaken, the car would just be covered in love bugs, just covered. In fact, if you were driving the whole, like the turnpike or 95 from Miami to Jacksonville, there would be a good chance that you would have to pull over to gas stations just to clean your windshield because there were so many love bugs splattered across your windshield that you couldn't see out the windshield.
So true.
And remember, if you didn't clean them off your radiator, it could clog up your radiators back then. Do you remember that?
I know my first memories of love bugs, they were like, it was almost like horror movie like.
Yeah, right.
You're like, there's so many of them.
You're right.
Yeah, and if you went across the state or in certain pockets, it was unruly. It was scary almost.
My dad used to work in St. Augustine, rebuilding some bankrupt, huge apartment complexes. So every summer I would go up there and work for him in construction when I was a little kid. But when we were in school, in order to see her dad, Mom would drive us up there. This is like when I was 7th, 8th, 9th grade, and drive us up there just to go see Dad for the weekend or whatever. And we used to have to pull over all the time. There was just like love bugs everywhere.
Everywhere.
It was pretty crazy. So this article had really good information. This is coming from PBS, a local Florida station, PBS station, about the Florida's declining love bug population. And it says, may make for cleaner windshield, but it signals a troubling trend. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So here's the thing. Love bugs don't seem to even exist in Florida anymore. They used to be here during the early summer, just around this time. And just around this time. So it would be early summer, and then right around August, September, October, they'd come back out again. Love bugs are called love bugs. In case anybody doesn't know what they are, they're these little black winged insects. They fly around, but they're always mated together. So the love bugs mate in the air, and that's why they're called love bugs, because when you see them flying around, they're almost always coupled. Here's the interesting part. When they are mating, how long does it take? How long is the mating process when they're doing it? So how long is the consummation process for these love bugs when they're flying around?
15, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I hope it's at least comparable.
12 hours.
Damn.
Yeah, so they're doing it for 12 hours when they're flying around. And guess how long they live?
No wonder they mate for life.
Well, kind of. How long do you think they live?
They're probably just a couple of days.
Weeks.
Right, 3 days.
3 days.
Right? So think about that. So that's like,
So they're banging for like
they're
like a fifth of their life.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. It's like not too bad to be a love bug, right?
A sixth of their life.
So I thought that was really funny that they only live 3 days. They were really from South America, love bugs. They said that they started noticing them going all over the southern hemisphere, and they officially came to Florida in 1949. And nobody really thought about them much, but as they grew in population and it started getting crazier and crazier, in the 1970s, UF started to do a very serious study into it, because there were a bunch of conspiracy theorists in the 1970s that said University of Florida Agricultural Division had made the love bugs to kill the mosquitoes, and that the love bugs were taking over, and it was like an environmental disaster because love bugs were taking over. So they started in the 1970s. This became really controversial, kind of like the contrails for planes and stuff like that. So they had to do all this research to prove that they were not engineered by the UF Agricultural Department to kill the mosquitoes. And really, after that, nobody gave a dang about them after that, and they never did any more research on them. They just came and went. Nobody really did any research on them. And the reason why they think that they're gone is because we're going through an insect apocalypse right now. Did you hear about that? Insect apocalypse?
It's sadly, global too.
Yes, that's what I mean. It's a worldwide insect apocalypse. Apparently, 40% of all the insects in the world are seeing amazingly high depopulation right now. So,
and different reasons, same but different reasons. Just depends on where you're at geographically. But there's a laundry list of reasons that are tied in, and it depends on where you're at to really see the big effects. Right. Pesticides and stuff like that are big. So the love bugs are in the soil unless we see them out mating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's
they're born in ground, right?
That's
they
troubling
up, right?
with all the pesticides and pesticides and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's doesn't make for a long life. Climate change, temperatures rising, deforestation. There's a number of variables at play. Yeah.
Well, the building is one of the things that I always think is, at least with the love bugs, right? Because I remember them being mostly in a certain area of Martin County where, I mean, it's nothing but trees and
field,
land,
open
right?
area,
Fields,
scrub
right?
land.
And that's, they were usually the worst, but there's a lot of ground for them to be in. And that's why there usually was more of them. Yep. But as we populate more and take more trees down, take more land, build more housing,
habitat destruction,
right? And so I thought maybe that was part of the reason.
It is habitat destruction, absolutely a part of it.
But even in the areas that haven't been built up yet, it seems like there's a lot less of them as well.
Yes, they're saying that basically they're non-existent in Florida right now. They don't know why they went away. They have no idea why they went away.
Even light pollution comes into play for some of the critters. And we're talking about things from bumblebees to butterflies. 40% of the insects.
Of all insects, of everything. Yeah. That's pretty crazy. You know what else we don't see anymore? Maybe it's just because I'm in the wrong areas, but you never see the fireflies anymore.
Ooh, you know what? We went... then Wednesday night. So yeah, it was the night before Thanksgiving. We went out to MacArthur Park,
Mm-hmm.
they had what was called the pumpkin stroll.
Right.
So people will go out during the day and drop off carved pumpkins. You know, the boardwalk that goes from the park out to the beach at MacArthur Park?
Yeah.
Like a third of a mile or so. It's beautiful if you've never
So
been.
people lined up with the pumpkins.
So it wasn't as long as you'd like to think, but it was still really cool. They had pumpkins lined up on both sides for, I don't know, maybe a third of that boardwalk. They had the apple cider donut people out there. They had live music. It was a fundraiser for the park. It was cool. We went out to attend. We try to represent whenever possible. And you know, you can walk through the parking lots, or you can walk the little trails along the waterway. Well, it was dark when we were leaving. It's obviously you're there to see the pumpkins. And you know, me and the wife were like, let's go the spookier route. It's Halloween. So we walked, and it was visible. But as we're walking, I'm like, oh, you see the glow bugs, you know, glow worms, glow bugs,
glow bugs,
lightning bugs, whatever you want to call them. I haven't seen them in so long, but man, there they were, all lit up in the darkness. Just not a plethora of them. They were scattered, but it's undeniable.
They were still there.
Yeah.
When you were a kid, did you collect them?
Oh, I loved
it. Of course,
right?
right?
They were much more abundant.
Oh yeah, they were so much more.
Abundant.
And I used to do it up in New York when I was a kid, and then in Oregon also, and then in Florida, they would still be down here, but they're really depopulated a lot now.
Yeah, but it was cool to see them. It's been a long time since I've seen some.
I forget why. Oh, it's a chemical, right? There's a chemical. It's a chemical that makes them light.
Like I know, but I think that's actually
I'm pretty sure it's a chemical. So, see you later, love bugs. Hope to see you soon, but don't get my car dirty anymore.
So they're probably not coming back, huh?
I don't know. It doesn't sound like, but you know, they have come and gone. So they did mention in the article that they have come and gone.
I was just going to say, is there some sort of natural cycle? You know, where they
like
maybe it's like the cicadas, right? Maybe it's like the cicadas. Because
if they stop studying them in, what'd you say,
70s, they just gave up.
They're like, I mean, at that point, maybe they did miss out on what is a natural cycle, which is possible, but it still doesn't change the fact that 40% of the insects in the world are gone. So it very well could be that they're just gone.
And let me tell you, trying to clean that stuff off your car was not fun. It wasn't. It's hard to pull that stuff off. You really had to scrape them to get them out.
Newbies to Florida, you guys you did not miss out. If you've been here for a while, because it's just progressively gotten less and less over in the 24 years I've lived here. But I remember visiting when I was like 6. My grandparents always lived here. My God, they were everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere.
Yeah, it would drive you crazy.
It's like black rain.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, there was times I literally would have to use my windshield wipers.
Yes,
because it would be.
It was like a horror movie. It was like scary.
Yeah, it was like a locust infestation for biblical proportions.
Yeah, when that's something you go on a vacation and you're like, what? It's not what you're expecting. Let's just put it that way.
Well, we're going to talk about another trend of things leaving Florida. Floridians. Here's another thing I thought that would be interesting. Let me tell you, I'm still predicting that next year we're going to have a 10 to 20% price drop from our peak of this year, which was $659,999 for Palm Beach County. So we're in the sixes for almost all the counties. Dade, Broward, and Palm, we're in the 600s for medium sales price. Martin County, Indian River, and St. Lucie are completely different animals because Martin County, there's hardly any sales. They're at 577. And Indian River and St. Lucie are very affordable compared to the other two. So, of course, St. Lucie's only in the 4s. Indian River's at 377 or something like that, 397. But the Tri-County area down here is in the 600s. I really think, and we peaked out at about 660, I really think that we're going to see a 10 to 20% drop from that by sometime next year because of higher interest rates, which I think are going to be sticky and not go down because I don't think these interest rates really historically are high and people just have to get to grips with that. The insurance costs are really high. I think that's going to be a big problem. And also,
I think we're going to have to get to grips with that too.
Yes. And the other thing is that inventory is growing. There aren't as many buyers. And on top of it, the surge here, I don't know how strong it is. I feel very different about that because, you know, the statistics we came out with the show 2 weeks ago, Florida hit a new population record of 23 million. And we're growing about 250,000 new residents net a year, meaning We
I
have.
think they're all moving to Palm Beach County too.
I know
Pretty
we
sure.
thought.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that was very common. That on the southeast, that's where they were all moving. And then there was a change probably right around COVID, maybe a little bit before COVID, where really the West Coast became more popular. I think the reason for that was it was less congested, and a couple other things. I think the beaches are a little more accessible. Like in Palm Beach County, the public beaches. If you think of Florida, there aren't that many really great public beaches in Palm Beach County. A lot of it's privately owned, where the condos are and everything, and you can't really walk the beach. You only get the little slice, where you could park. On the West Coast, it's a little different than that. But now with all the storms that have just hit over and over and over again, people are done. I mean, they're done. So check this out. Since the hurricanes Helene and Milton, and the earlier canes that we had in like 2022 and earlier, the trend is really clear. I'm not rebuilding again. That's what the residents out there are saying. Realtors on the West Coast in the Tampa, St. Pete area are seeing a trend where homeowners are offering to sell their homes as is, cash only. These are hurricane destroyed homes that either had flooding or hurricane damage. And they're like, we don't even want to rebuild it. Just buy it as it is. And they're offering it to investors as is cash. Homes that were selling in the high 500s less than a year ago and now are being offered gutted for $299,000. Just buy it the way it is and we'll just leave. One investor, listen to this. I always feel so bad. Talk about buzzerless. This one investor couple bought a home from the hurricane in 2022, Ian, and that home was destroyed. So they bought it as a cash only, as is investment property they were going to fix up and resell. So they finished it, put it on the market for $460, and then they got hit by Helene and Milton.
Oh.
And now they have the house, it's gutted again, right? Just like when they bought it. And now they're asking $299. So they had the house completely fixed up, ready to go at $460. And then the house got destroyed by the new hurricanes. And now they're doing exactly what the sellers did prior to them.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you this right now, whatever the investors are paying right now over there on the West Coast, because it is a really good time to be an investor to go out there. If you're thinking about being an investor and heading out there, let me know. I can get you to people that will know the good deals out there. But this is one of the things you got to realize. If you're buying now, so if the house was worth $460 and you're buying it for $299 now and you're thinking you're getting a great deal, 6 months from now, that deal's not going to look so good. It's going to continue to go down. So we're at the beginning of the decline in that area. This is all weather related. It isn't across Florida. It's going to be endemic to that area. We've been talking about this since February. Remember, I came back from the National Keller Williams reunion, the conference.
Yeah.
And I came back and I said, we have a bubble, guys, and the bubble's on the West Coast of Florida over by Tampa, St. Pete. And that was because of Ian. Now we've got the two new ones. So it's going to be really, really bad.
Oh.
So whatever the people are paying now, I'm sure that the prices are going to be even lower. So if the investors are really sharp, they're going to keep their powder dry and they're going to wait until the properties go really low. Or you can get a really fed up seller that just doesn't care and they're going to take the bath and give it to you even lower than that $460 to $299.
Wow.
What do you guys think? Do you think that this is going to be a trend throughout Florida because of what happened over there? Meaning like we're going to be affected too, where less people are going to want to come and that Floridians are going to say, you know what? I saw those hurricanes on the West Coast. We know our time's coming. I don't want to deal with that. I'm out of here.
If we weren't in the crisis for property insurance like we are right now, if it was kind of normal, I think all day it would be easy because I think as we're just about we may get a little more activity here in November, but we're about to shift in the holidays and those storms are really going to get out of people's minds, except for locally those that are still dealing.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly that is top of mind, but I'm talking about for those that are looking to move into that area or invest in properties that are at a pretty rock bottom level. I think that's going to be really out of sight, out of mind. I think it's the property insurance and that right now, but we're gonna probably be 30 days away from, unless they get another one here in the next 30 days.
Yeah.
But we're 30 days away from on to next year, right?
Mhm.
And I think that'll go out of their minds pretty quickly and be like, yeah, I gotta do this. I think that's a perfect storm.
Do
for
what?
it right
I'm
now.
sorry, I lost you there.
Jump on the investment opportunity.
Oh, jump on the investment. But do you think that people on the east coast of Florida, or other parts of Florida, are going to see all that hurricane damage and how many times they got hit over and over again? And they're just going to say, I'm done. I'm leaving Florida.
I can see
I'm out of
I
there.
can see that happening, but I think there will be people to pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
I really
yeah.
do.
There'll be investors
Yes.
to go over there.
Sure. I mean, if people think that they can make money,
Yep.
you know, especially the investors, as you say, outside influencers looking to, somebody from New York or even Wisconsin, another part of the country looking to come here. I think Johnny's right. I think the big deterrent is going to be insurance, and it's not just homeowners, but also auto.
And flood,
because
too.
our auto and flood is going up.
Yeah.
So
what I'm thinking is that all those houses, it's almost like what's happening in the condo market. When you build a building, it has a useful life.
Sure.
And most of the useful life, I'm guessing, I mean, we're going to get experts to talk about this on the air, but I'm assuming it's like 50 years, right? For most buildings, 50, 60 years. And a lot of those buildings that we're investigating right now for concrete restoration within the 3 miles of the intercoastal and everything, we're finding out they have a lot of problems. They just came into my unit and they took out my sliding glass doors and they cracked up concrete inside the unit and outside the unit, and then they patched it up. But I'm telling you, they're taking out pieces that are like 2 feet by 2 feet and then finding bad rebar in there, steel in there, and then doing whatever they're doing it's called spalding, to correct the spalding from the steel. And then they're putting concrete back. And I'm like, how is that making the whole building stronger? How do you know that that's the only spot that you have? And they're going over and doing these little spots everywhere. But I'm thinking, you're going to have to be doing this forever. It's like taking little checkerboard pieces out of these gigantic buildings and replacing it. And you're going to have to do it over and over again eventually. I think these buildings eventually, they're going to have to be torn down and rebuilt to the new standards needed for today.
Sure.
I think what's going to happen on the West Coast, a lot of those houses that have been hit multiple times, I think that eventually what's going to happen is that a lot of those places are going to be sold for the land value. And then a smart investor is going to go in there and they're going to build a more hurricane or flood friendly type of building, or house. So they'll put it on stilts like they do in the Keys, and they start tearing down those old 1950 houses and they're putting up stilt homes. I was just watching a really interesting YouTube show where this guy in Florida, he built his house to hurricane standards, but the way it worked was it was on stilts and it was 15 feet high off the ground. And he had livable space on the first floor, but the walls and everything were breakaway. So when the water came, it allowed the walls and everything to be broken away and pushed away through the surge, but it created less friction, and they had really strong structural supports that are buried in the ground really deep. And it never really affected the second story and third story of the house or the roof. And they designed it so that the first story could be rebuilt really quickly. And I'm assuming that you're not having your living room there or something,
Right.
but there's room in there. And I feel like that's what we're going to be doing, is working on new trends of what housing should look like in these high storm areas. And Florida is going to be ground zero for that. And I think
we're going to have to adapt. I mean, obviously,
Yes.
there's something that's coming along. I was very, very fascinated by what Tampa General, the hospital, did with those barriers.
I didn't hear about that. Tell me.
They actually built, and it wasn't for Milton. It was for the one before that hit on the West Coast, and they or was going that way. They basically put a wall. They built a temporary wall around the hospital.
Yeah.
It was an aqua fence. Yeah,
aqua fence,
and it worked.
Oh
And
yeah,
that was the thing.
Works wonders. It has. They put those things up when there's a storm coming, in anticipation of it.
What is it made out of?
I don't know the answer to that, and it's pretty labor intensive, but it's amazing.
It's very, and it's it's pricey. I mean, it's 6 figures. I think they needed, for the area. Boy, of course, you're talking about around a hospital. But it kind of looks like the walls that they put up for a construction zone, right? So they're, I don't know, 8 foot, 10 foot high, right? And they come in sections and they bolt, pretty much into the ground or some sort of way to fasten into the ground. And they're just sections they put together and they're waterproof pretty much, and it held back the storms. I mean, there's plenty of video out there. You can see where the storm surge came up to. Again, not for Milton, because Milton, actually Tampa had the tide go out because of the way, it came through. But they were erected for them. So, but I don't know. Is that an answer? Or people get their own personal style of that,
right?
But again, that's money costs. Sea walls cost money. And all that buildup. But that's adaptation. That's what humans do.
And the cost for the housing is going to get more expensive, which gets to my whole gentrification thing, where I just feel like the people that are going to live near the water, they've always been wealthier. But now it's going to you have to be even wealthier than wealthier, if you will.
Sure.
Yeah, it just is going to be like that. I wanted to leave off on the show with this one question.
Can I just mention something real quick?
Yes, please.
We're talking about, insurance, flooding and everything. We've been talking about insurance in the state for
a long time.
Forever. The show is focused on every aspect of the market. Your property insurance, it's an equation. It's needed, and we've always had pros to lean on. Ross Camaronets with Brightwood Insurance. Juno Beach,
only one,
amazing, phenomenal resource for so many, including us here at Florida Talk Real Estate. But we've been following the rise in cost in the state, and so much of it has been tied to fraud and litigation, right? So we, a couple of years ago, signed into law. The way you go after your insurance company is a very different beast now. It used to be where you just could sign on in that contingent factor. Your lawyer got paid if you got paid, which they claimed. And again, it seemed very logical, led to us being really, really massively hit with fraud. The cost of the companies to pay attorneys to fight fraudulent claims was pretty insurmountable, which caused us to have these huge increases in our premiums. It seemed logical. We got signed into law. There's a different approach now if you're going to sue your company. There was one caveat when we talked, and we even talked about it. From the consumer side, protecting the public, it made it tougher to fight against the insurance companies. Okay. And you are seeing headline after headline of claim denial, claim denial, claim denial, claim denial. And so many of these people, if they're legit claims, and they are struggling to try to get their homes fixed, odds are good they don't have the money to hire said attorney. So when it was signed, it seemed really pessimistic. But if you're on the side of we the consumer, there was no more teeth. You have to come in with skin in the game to have an attorney to fight for you against an insurance company that right now can say, nah, sue us. And if you don't have money to hire an attorney, oh well. And we're seeing it happen now. We brought it up at the time. Here's the big caveat. We'll see if the insurance companies do right by the people.
And there's another thing that they did.
It's not 100%. Clearly, claims are being paid. I'm not saying it's not happening, but you're seeing headline after headline. Now, again, the details always matter, but if we're talking about tens of thousands that are mounting. If they're fraudulent, they're not legit, they should be denied. But if they're legit and they're being denied, these poor people are in a different positioning to go after the companies than they once were just 2 short years
ago. It could
ago.
be even worse, because one of the changes, besides that rule of how attorneys are being used for the lawsuits, is if you wanted a discount on your insurance, all you had to do is sign a little agreement that you would never sue the insurance company, period.
Yeah.
So you give up your rights for a lawsuit, and a lot of people did that to get the discount.
So you talked about gentrification, right? People that it's always been a certain amount of money required to live on the coast, right? It's a more of elitist status, but there's generational money that got people in, and maybe they don't quite live the same way, but they've owned these properties. They're in a better position, right? Maybe they're underinsured, or maybe they're gonna be fought for these claims, and at some point they have no choice but to walk away, and it almost just opens up the floodgates for more and more of the the people that are really trying to hold on to that dream where it just slips away from them, because again, the power was in the name of all of us saving money. We all went, it's okay, we won't have the protection, right? And we all fell for it because we want cheaper insurance. I don't know if it's gotten cheaper. The increases stopped.
Yes.
And maybe a little bit of down push.
We flattened out for
competition's
sure. We
coming in.
definitely flattened out as far as price increases. We definitely flattened out, and it might slightly be going down. Even this,
and it's the timeline that Ross gave us. He said it's going to take a couple of years.
Yes,
So we've seen it. We saw the brakes get put on the increase. We've seen the down push. We're seeing more companies come into Florida. Competition always going to be great for the consumer. The best thing that can happen. But that one, like, oh, that kind of sucks, is starting to come true, at least potentially, where people aren't going to have money to sue their companies, and they're going to be.
And here's another little tip on the insurance thing is that we noticed this trend. Apparently, Ross is saying that this wasn't uncommon, but it's more common now, where the insurance company says, hey, we'll make an appointment for the public adjuster or the adjuster to come out. And the insurance company's bringing out an adjuster. Ross is saying that you should always get your own adjuster and have them look at the damage to the home too, because unless you trust your insurance company implicitly that they're going to do the right thing, you really need an independent eyes for you to know what the insurance company should be paying for from an independent adjuster.
So it's not an independent adjuster. They actually work for said insurance
company?
They're
being appointed by the insurance company. So I'm assuming, I'm assuming that they're bringing out people that are going to be in the benefit for them. I don't know, but that's what I'm assuming.
So, but I always viewed it like I hire an appraiser. The appraiser's not trying to benefit me. They're giving a solid appraisal for everybody to deal with, right? It's not like they don't lean to a side of the fence. I would feel like that's the way
adjusters are licensed by the state, so they have obligations that they can't do. Just like an appraiser, they have a federal license, so they have to hit certain standards so they can get in trouble. But I'm sorry, I just don't trust insurance companies. I don't trust big business.
And I hope you heard the skeptical words when I said, "Hey, we trust that insurance companies will do the right thing." There's a little bit.
So if you get damaged, make sure you get your own insurance adjuster. Don't think, "Oh, good, the insurance company's doing this for me. It's one less phone call I got to make." No, make a couple phone calls, find an adjuster to come out and take a look at it. Have a second opinion out there. What's going on?
I'm glad you said that, because I didn't even know that was an option.
Yeah.
I mean, I assumed, the one time that I had to put in a claim, Francis and Jean back in 2004, the insurance company, now granted, because of the amount of damage, there were outside adjusters that came in. There were people that came here from Australia.
Oh yeah. I had somebody from New York during Wilma and all that. Yeah. I had somebody from New York come down to handle my claim.
Yeah.
So they were hired by the insurance company, but they weren't directly affiliated. So you had probably a better chance of getting one who was going to be more neutral in that particular case. But I understand your point that, the ones that are here, they're already there. They're kind of working for them in a way. I mean, it makes you wonder whether or not they're going to be completely honest with that. And I didn't even know that you had that option, that you could get your own independent adjuster. Do you have to pay for that?
Yes, it isn't usually out of pocket. What the adjusters usually do is they tell you up front that they're going to take a percentage of what they get.
Okay, gotcha.
What they get for you. That's how it kind of works.
Right. Okay.
I saw this.
What? Wait a minute.
Yeah, that's
so I can hire an adjuster contingently, but I can't get my attorney.
Yeah.
Tell me that law was to protect we the people. Tell me. Convince me.
I just wanted to go over really quick. I read an article where the head of the finance department for Lennar Homes, they have a company called Lennar Mortgage. Lennar is one of the biggest builders in the country, and the head of Lennar Mortgage, Laura Escobar, came out in a very strong statement to the Mortgage Bankers Association stating, this is why homes are so expensive in today's market. And I thought it was kind of interesting just to get a developer's point of view of
And not
why.
a small developer either, by the way.
Yeah,
No,
one
yeah,
of the
huge.
biggest in the
Yeah,
country.
yeah.
So this is what they're saying. Some of it obviously is pretty, everybody kind of gets this. She was complaining about the high interest rates, the soaring insurance rates, and because of these two things, it's not dramatically reducing prices. And she's also saying that, part of this is that supplies are still 30% higher than they were pre-COVID.
Yeah, that one sucks.
Right. And they're saying that that's costing them stuff. And she estimates, and this is one of the biggest builders in the country, there were 1.5 million new homes short for what's needed to have normal inventory. But she also said that lack of inventory has been a big problem. Now, I think that problem is being solved right now organically.
Nationally, these are we're talking here?
Yes, this is nationally,
Yeah.
not Florida. And she says that low inventory, but the inventory is increasing now across the country. In Florida, we just saw, Palm Beach County at least, we saw a 44% increase of inventory over the last year. But she's saying that all these things are creating a problem, but there's another bigger problem, she thinks, than all of those things that we've talked about, which we kind of know. She says government regulations are one of the biggest problems of why builders aren't building enough homes in the area and that needed, not in the area, but needed. And she said that there's two reasons for it. Number one, strict regulations of where they can build. And then,
which, by the way, we should never loosen.
I agree with you on that. And then
where versus like what?
You've heard of NIMBY,
like
right? Not in my backyard.
Right.
NIMBYs, right? Not in my backyard, right?
Yeah.
So everybody wants the new prison. I'm making it up, right? Everybody wants the new prison, but they don't want it in their backyard, right?
Mhm.
That's called not in my backyard, NIMBYs.
Sure.
So the thing is that that's one of the biggest problems with government regulations. The government regulations are there to make sure that things flow right in the community, that you don't have a porn store next to a church, right? Or a school or something like that, and things like that, kind of regulation. And a lot of things that happen here in Palm Beach County or South Florida is all our farmland. We've had so many regulations when I used to be a reporter 30 years ago about protecting the farmland,
Yeah,
right?
environmental regulations get slashed enough as is. Regulations needed.
And now with all these new politicians 30 years later, they're not abiding by what politicians set 30 years ago because progress got to happen. So now they're trading farmland for developer land, and they're doing all that
such a
stuff.
developer mentality.
It is.
It is.
But they're still saying that
It's just we're talking about the person that runs Lennar. So it is a developer mentality.
Exactly. So they're saying all these regulations are hurting us. And they're saying, now this is an interesting part though. They're saying just the government regulations cost a new homeowner buying a new construction $94,000 per unit. So just going to buy new construction, townhome, condo, single family home, on average, just walking in the door, there's a $94,000 cost for government regulations. I just thought that was kind of
bloated.
Me too. I mean, this is coming from the developer, but I'm just telling you, this is how they're thinking about it. You know what I'm thinking is Lennar. I looked it up yesterday. Lennar was one of the companies that when COVID was out, they didn't want to pay realtors anything. They were basically pushing realtors away, say, I don't care if you have a buyer. We have plenty of buyers on our own. But now Lennar, different parts of the country, they're offering 5% commissions to agents. And I've seen not here locally only, but throughout the country, Lennar, they're offering $15,000 to $50,000 credits to the buyers and incentives to use however they want. They could use for down payment, closing costs, buy down the mortgage, get upgrades in the house, but they're offering $15,000 to $50,000 incentives to the homeowners and telling the buyer's agents, hey, bring your buyer. We really need them.
They're trying to lighten that bag a little bit, huh?
Can you equate that to a price drop?
Yes, to me, yes, that's absolutely price drops that are happening right now with the new developers.
Supply and demand. I mean,
So
it sounds to me like the supply is high, the demand is lower, so they've got to adjust or give incentives, whatever you want to call it.
So you see what they're doing, and they're telling you we're $1.5 million home short. They're dropping their prices in a way, incentivizing to buy what exists, while telling you We need to build more. Anybody that reads and actually comprehends what they read, you're like, this is some contradictory
Yeah,
crap
it doesn't
here,
make
Miss Lamont.
sense. It just doesn't make sense. So,
But I think that's also part of the overall, like they're saying for the United States, right?
Yes.
They want to say that we don't have enough housing, but just like any other aspect of real estate, it goes street by street, it goes by county by county, it goes state by state. I mean, it's more localized.
Her fix is let us build more and make the interest rates like 2 or 3% again, and we'll be back in business. And it's like,
sure,
you should get used. I'm with Jim. Get used to it.
Yep.
Interest rates are where they should be, should have been, and will stick here and only go higher. And you're a home builder.
Yeah.
It's what you do. You go through cycles.
Yep.
Find a way.
And I think that they wouldn't have had a bigger problem if they bought more, if they started working on more affordable homes.
That's it.
And they would have had more demand.
Yep.
And they chose to go for the higher end homes, which produced less demand for them.
At some point, it sure did. At some point, it was high demand, which is why they went down that road.
Well,
and
thank
now
you guys.
Shifted. Thank you.
Thank you today.
And thank you for being with us. We're on Facebook and YouTube. Thanking you very much, Florida Talk Real Estate on both. Always remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is .com, your one-stop real estate shop that is. Know it, use it, love it, share it. Buying a home, selling a home, you're stuck with a home, you don't know what to do. Anything that touches the world of real estate, even finding out where you stand and how that path looks.